Hi everyone and welcome to week 2. So I thought I'd start here since this is your very first course and just remind you of a couple of things. One is that the announcements, only the last 3 appear here. If you want to look at other announcements, you have to go to announcements here and see the whole list. Secondly, over here is your to-do list, okay? And that will come up each week with all the things that will be due. Now you notice that there's no due date on the discussions, and that is because, there should be a due date on the process note. I have to set that up. I'll do that when I'm done the video. But the discussions no due date, and that is because Canvas won't allow us to put in 2 due dates, and your post is due on Thursday, and then your responses are due between Thursday and Sunday, and so we can't do that. So we put no due date in, but I'll fix the assignments. Okay, secondly, grades, all your grades are here, in case you want to make sure that you stay up to date on where you are in terms of grading. And then I'm going to go to the modules to week 2. Just a reminder, here are all of the assignments, and I've made you a video for each assignment explaining what to do. And then down here is week 2. So the video that I'm making for you right now will appear here. Let's just go through this. I just want you to look at the overview. It's the same thing every week. Introduction, learning resources, where all your reading and videos are. These are additional videos. You'll see why. I'll explain that in a couple of minutes. A discussion, which is not actually a discussion, it's more of a posting. And then an activity that doesn't involve anything here yet. And then your emotional intelligence paper that's due on Sunday. Okay, so let's just start right here. There's no additional video. This is where this video will be. Introduction and the learning objectives for for this class. Normally you don't, I mean, unless you're really interested, you don't generally need to go there every week. Here is the reading. And so the Morrison and Wang articles are articles you are going to be using in the emotional intelligence paper. Now you can substitute a different article instead of Wang, but Wang provides some definitions of some of the things that you have to define in your paper. Just a hint, okay? You must use the Morrison article, and you need to use it heavily, which means more than one citation, okay? And then here is a resource for you about grammar. Here are, these are resources for finding comments in the grading area, okay? Feedback, how do I see the rubric? And then this is more about formatting, how to paraphrase properly. You want to get into the habit right away of paraphrasing a lot more than you ever directly quote people. We want to hear what you're saying, how you interpret what someone says. You give them credit for what they said, but we want to know what you're saying about that. Okay. Now there are 2 videos here from Dr. Barol talking about group development, and she talks about stages. These are super duper important because in your process notes, starting in week 3, you are going to be reflecting on what stage your group is in. Okay? Then she talks about the chaos stage, which is a stage that lots of people resist. They don't want to be in chaos. And in that resistance, they create chaos. And then talking about early experiences and how they shape us, okay? Sorry, there's banging going on in the background. I try to videotape when people aren't around. Well, there's only one other person in my house, my husband, and sometimes he's a little loud. Okay, so in your small group and dyad meeting, and you will meet with your small group for the first time this week, you are going to use Zoom or Skype. I can't encourage you enough to use Zoom. The more that you use Zoom, the easier it will be when you go to record your final presentation. You will have worked out any bugs or quirky things that might be going on, okay? So if you start out using Zoom, it'll be a lot easier in the end. And I should say that group meetings, so by text or group meetings by email are not group meetings. You must be in a forum where you see each other, okay? All right, so this is a discussion, your first discussion of the course. And this is asking you, what are your early experiences of family and group? Should actually be, what were your early experiences, but I'm not grading this. Only share what you feel comfortable sharing. You do not have to reveal things about your family or groups that you don't really feel comfortable doing, okay? Then how do you think these affected you in how you participate in a group? That's one question. And the second question is, how do you think that your family and previous group experiences might affect your leadership styles? So we'll talk more about leadership in week 3, but you want to start thinking about it now. And then you're going to respond to one classmate. How are your experiences different or similar to theirs? Remember that I'm okay with you responding between Thursday and Sunday. If you want to respond earlier, though, so post is what's due on Thursday. You can post to any time prior to Thursday. You could post in the week before. But responses really need to happen between Thursday and Sunday because some people are really busy and they're working and they have families and they don't get to post until Thursday. So if we don't wait a little bit, then those folks that can't make their post until Thursday, they never get to be seen or heard or known, which might be words that you've started to hear about. Okay? If you need to do it earlier, just email me. And I almost always say yes. So now here, you will be coming here and you will upload your small group progress form. I have created groups, so each group has its own conversation thread. Here are the ones you have access to. Not quite sure why it doesn't say which one yet. I'll have to look into that. But it should say Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. If you go back to the announcement where I posted who's in Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3, you will see what group you're in, and then you can post by that. All right? Here's a dyad activity. So in week 1, you got to meet your dyad partner. You keep the same partner for the whole semester. And in this week, you're going to do 2 things. Well, kind of 3 things with your dyad partner. You will be reflecting on what you do, what your partner does in the week 3 process note. So you're not writing about anything here. I do encourage you, though, to when you're finished, after you meet with your dyad partner, to start your process note for week 3. There's things in there that you can do ahead of time, like when the large group is done, you could talk about that. If you do the reading, you can talk about that. Okay? So it pays to look ahead. Okay, first thing is you're going to have a conversation with your dyad partner about how you communicate. How do you do it verbally? How do you do it non-verbally? How do you reflect emotion? How do you let people know that you care and that you're with the person? So you are each going to take turns talking to each other. Maybe you'll both talk at the same time. I don't know. Try not to do that, but sometimes that happens, right? So this is a conversation. In the second part, which has two parts, you will be first setting a timer, and you will talk to each other about any topic you choose. So both individuals will talk. And then you're going to analyze. How was it for you? Did you get to express yourself? Did you feel the other person had a chance to talk? And any other observations? So now you're doing self-reflection, and you're reflecting on and asking the other person, how did it go for them? This conversation is very important, and this is a microcosm of what you want to do in your small groups. Some small groups are going to be tempted to start working right away on the task. And I'm going to say to you, resist that. Start right away by getting to know each other, because that's part of the process. And if you pay attention to getting to know people in the group and interacting and figuring out who has what strengths, then your product, the presentation in this case, will have a much higher quality for the time that you put in to developing your group, talking in your group, reflecting on your group. And you're going to do this in your dyad too. So in the second part of this exercise, you set a timer for 5 minutes, and one person is going to talk. The other person is going to non-verbally acknowledge. Okay? Then that person stops after 5 minutes, talk about whatever you want. Then the other person gets to talk for 5 minutes and be listened to. And then talk about this. Discuss what it was like to talk without being interrupted. What was it like to not interrupt somebody else? How did it feel to listen that intently? Okay? And then here finally is your paper that's due. And if you go to the assignment instructions, that will be like what to do. And this is in the major projects and assignments, which is also where my video is for you. So the video, well, what is she going to do? She's going to read right from the instructions. No, not really. I try to point out the places where I've known students to perhaps misunderstand what they're supposed to do, or maybe forget to do something or ignore to do something. Okay, I do cover all of it, but I try to highlight tips that might be helpful to you. Okay, it's about formatting your paper. And then here is the grading rubric. And then if you have questions, you'll let me know. And next up is week 3. But we won't go there yet. You just get to hang out in week 2 for a week, okay? All right, so I will see you in the course. Thank you so much. Bye.